Anyone who watches Dance Moms knows that Abby Lee Miller likes to make fun of people and criticize her dancers.
No crybabies! None!
So we're not surprised that her students' mothers clash with her every now and then. But let's be real, these dance moms also clash with each other. We found some of the biggest mommy meltdowns of all time. So watch until the end to find out which dance mom's explosive episode puts everyone else's to shame. Cathy goes rogue. Abby has a lot of enemies, but none of them are as dedicated as Cathy Nesbitt Stein. Before opening her very own studio, Cathy's daughter Vivienne used to dance at Abby's school, but feuds between mother and teacher soon made working together impossible. So despite leaving Dance Moms in season 1, Cathy remained determined to make Abby's life a living hell from afar. In season 3, episode 7, Cathy and her crew attend a dance competition. And guess what? Abby's group is also competing for the title. But instead of letting their dancers' performances do the talking, Cathy goes rogue and tries to provoke Abby's temper.
Oh, look at the shambly mess.
Cathy blatantly makes fun of Abby's students for riding in a white van, and she flaunts her limousine for all to see. Surprisingly, Abby remains calm for the first few moments. That is, until Cathy insults her hairstyle.
Hey, you know what, Ab? That hair is not going to make the limo look any worse. Cathy, go to hell!
By now, it's clear that Cathy cares more about pushing Abby's buttons than winning the competition, and it looks like she's not the only one. This is made obvious when Dan's dad, Rick, soon jumps in to give Abby a piece of his mind.
Don't talk to my wife like that because my wife wouldn't talk to children like that.
Cathy and Rick are not letting Abby go without a fight, but despite having valid reasons to be angry, Cathy's shrill voice and hysterical ways make it impossible to side with her. Jill bites back. Kendall and her mother Jill first appeared in the second season of Dance Moms, and although things ran smoothly at first, Jill slowly began bumping heads with Abby and the other moms, with the exception of Melissa, of course. Jill isn't one to bite her tongue and let her daughter be ridiculed, so we weren't too surprised to see her nerves bubble up in Season 5, Episode 25.
I can't let that woman stand there and tear her down and say lies.
Jill's sour attitude turned bitter real quick, and before long she was ready to bite Abby's head off. So when Kendall's posture got picked on a second time, Jill basically exploded.
She hasn't had a stretch class in how long?
Instead of backing down and letting Jill get her 2 cents in, Abby retaliated with a full-blown attack, and we wouldn't expect anything less from the dance teacher. Meanwhile, Jill blamed her daughter's lack of flexibility on the fact that Abby hadn't hosted a stretching class in a long time. But according to Abby, her dancers are supposed to stretch before entering the studio. So how did this fight end? Well, with Kendall bursting into tears, of course.
I said in my mind, she's fine.
After getting some lip from Jill, Abby decided to let Kendall out of class early, which only added fuel to the fire. But after seeing her daughter in tears, it looks like Jill chose to quit while she was ahead. Christi's meltdown. Being a parent is hard enough as is, but your job can become even more hectic when your kid's got a dream. Chloe's mom, Christi, is no stranger when it comes to fighting with other moms and Abby, but she's not usually one to have a meltdown in broad daylight. But this is exactly what happened in Season 1, Episode 2.
I didn't cook dinner for my kids, my house is a mess, I have laundry everywhere.
Being a dance mom is no joke, which is why the moms are usually exhausted, hungry, and ready to rumble. But what happens when a mom of 2 is way behind on her workload and stuck in a dance studio? Well, nothing good, that's what. At this point, Christi is clearly overworked and desperate to get home. On top of that, she isn't feeling like the best mother. And this is because Chloe is starving and about ready to collapse.
No, she's not. She needs to go home and eat dinner. But not just that, I need to go home.
On top of that, Christi has been trailing her young daughter, Clara, around since the early morning. And let's face it, Abby's studio isn't the best place for a toddler to be.
Abby, I need to know what's going on with Chloe's dance, because we can't stay until 9 o'clock tonight.
We're so used to seeing Christi yell and cause a scene that seeing her in this state is totally weird. Not only is she out of character, but she's also vulnerable and an inch away from having a full-blown burnout. Well, we're happy that the Lucasiaks went home and had a good night's sleep, because, well, they definitely deserved it. Holly acts unholy. Holly might be the calmest dance mom around, but that doesn't exempt her from the occasional meltdown. What sets Holly apart from the other moms is that she only gets into fights when her daughter Nia is being attacked by Abby, or when another member of the team is being treated unrightfully. So some might even say that Holly is the dance mom's guardian angel. In season 5, episode 2, we see Holly come to life when one of her friends gets insulted.
Why are you doing this? Because if you want to make it...
The fight breaks out when Abby accuses Jill of being a bad mom, and she takes things a step further by insinuating that Kendall is a spineless puppet. Luckily for them, Holly comes to the rescue.
I will tell you how to act because I'm helping you.
Things escalate when Nia tells Abby that she's disrespecting everybody, and Holly jumps in to shine some light on Abby's disgusting behavior. But instead of having a real conversation like a normal person would, Abby threatens to kick Holly off of the show.
What you're doing is wrong.
At this point, it's clear that Holly has left the building and left her alter ego in charge. She points her finger in Abby's face while telling her that she's not the enemy, which is more than a little misleading. But like the classy lady she is, Holly speaks her mind instead of becoming violent as some other moms would have. This mommy meltdown is quite surprising, but it's nothing compared to the last one we're going to show you. So sit tight because drama is coming your way. Melissa loses her cool. It's a well-known fact that Abby favors Maddie over the rest of her students, so it's not surprising that Melissa and the other moms bump heads every once in a while. But in season 2, episode 22, things get a little out of hand. Christi and Melissa get into a huge fight, which ends with Melissa storming off.
You can't celebrate other people, but when we don't celebrate Maddie, it turns into this big thing.
Celebrates.
According to Christi, Melissa is a cheater who talks badly about Chloe and other children. So Christi goes a little too far and insults Melissa in front of everybody.
I didn't lie, you told her you cheated!
On top of calling Melissa a liar, Christi goes in for the kill by bringing up her living situation. She accuses her of sleeping with her boss and living with a married man. And let's just say that Melissa doesn't take the insult too well. According to the other dance moms, Melissa is a troublemaker who's also extremely smart, so she tends to play her cards just right. By the end of this episode, Melissa is storming out of Abby's studio with little Mackenzie in tow. With emotions at an all-time high, Melissa's daughter is showcased crying over the fact that the other moms are ganging up on Melissa. This mommy meltdown brings another issue to light, and it highlights how far Christi will go to win a battle. Minister Dawn is at it again. We don't know about you, but we can't get enough of Minister Dawn. Despite only making a few appearances in season 1, Dawn managed to create some pretty unforgettable scenarios. Having previously been kicked out of Abby's studio didn't sit well with her, especially since she was escorted out by the police. At first, Dawn was upset because her daughter Regan was kicked out of the class for disrespecting the dress code, and the fight escalated to the point that Dawn's contract was canceled. But in season 1, episode 7, Dawn is called back to settle a missing payment issue.
Okay, you never paid for the rest of your solo.
This mommy meltdown is unlike anyone we've ever seen, and this is because Dawn managed to keep her emotions in check this time around. But the smug look on her face says it all.
Contract was broken. No.
By now, we all know that Abby loves taking people to court, even when she's the one to blame. So she threatens to sue Dawn for disrespecting the contract's rules. But let's just say that Minister Dawn is asking herself, what would Jesus do? Because she's nowhere close to being as hysterical as she's been in the past.
That's called theft by deception.
You can use all the words you want to use.
Instead of being escorted out, Dawn takes the highway and leaves Abby fumbling with the bill. Jessalyn goes after Sherry. Dance Moms is an unpredictable show, and although some moms will join the production as friends, they'll end the series as worst enemies or vice versa. Jessalyn and Sherry might have been best buds prior to becoming Dance Moms, but their love for each other came to an abrupt end in season 2, episode 9. JoJo isn't the easiest kid to deal with, and this has everything to do with her poor attitude and huge ego. But that doesn't make it okay for grown-ups to pick on her.
JoJo can't keep up with these girls. She'll be going home soon.
Oh, you wish.
Instead of defending Jessalyn's kid, Sherry is laughing at Cindy's jokes. However, she doesn't have the slightest clue that Jessalyn is bubbling with rage. So poor Sherry never sees Jessalyn's outburst coming.
You don't ever stick up for JoJo, Sherry. Ever.
You haven't heard everything I've said.
By now, it's obvious that Sherry's not getting off the hook, so she decides to yell back at Jessalyn, who's not going to back off anytime soon.
I thought Tiffany was the bully. It is not Tiffany, it was you. I don't care, Sherry.
After being yelled at for a little too long, Sherry loses her cool and accuses Jessalyn of being a bully. And we can't say that she's wrong. Although she might chalk it up to defending her daughter, Jessalyn should have confronted Cindy and not Sherry, who is just trying to fit in with the other moms. Jessalyn is no stranger when it comes to mommy meltdowns, but then again, none of the dance moms are. The Bus, starring Abby and Christi. Abby isn't the easiest person to get along with, so it's best to stay out of her way. But sometimes dance moms don't really have a choice in the matter. Dance competitions are supposed to be fun, but Abby isn't one to let her clients unwind. So instead of letting the moms calm their nerves while on the bus to the competition, Abby chooses to pick a fight with Christi.
Christi. Yes. The other night in the parking lot, you dinged somebody's car with your car door?
You can tell by the look on Christi's face that she wasn't expecting to get singled out. What's worse is that she's clearly not in the mood to deal with Abby in any way. While competitions can be a stressful time for the girls, it's equally as stressful for the moms. So we're not surprised to see Christi lose her cool.
I'm not ignorant. I'm not. You're the ignorant one.
It doesn't take long for Christi to explode with anger, especially after being called ignorant. But apparently, this is what Abby wanted in the first place.
And get off the bus!
Abby threatens to kick Christi off the bus, which is a little surprising. But most shocking of all is the evil giggle that Abby lets slip through her lips when the topic of Kelly arises. But seriously, is that giggle the most frightening sound you've ever heard? Ashley and Jill go at it. When it comes to defending their daughters, each and every dance mom is guilty of going a little too far. In Season 6, Episode 3, Jill and Ashley get into a spat over something extremely childish.
Go sit down where Kendall sat.
In Ashley's mind, her daughter Bryn has done no wrong, so she's more than happy to confront Jill about her ridiculous theory. According to Jill, Bryn is stealing Kendall's coaching time by standing in front of her. But from where Ashley's standing, Bryn isn't bothering anyone.
If it was a problem, they would tell her, don't you think? I think so.
Jill adds fuel to the fire she created by calling Bryn stupid, which is pretty unforgivable. Instead of stooping down to her level, Ashley goes to Abby for advice. But things start to escalate when Jill approaches Abby with the same matter.
Why is Bryn on Kendall's side in her way when she's trying to dance, making a mockery of her?
For once, Abby keeps her cool while Jill absolutely loses it, clearly making Kendall uncomfortable. Jill's meltdown paints her in a bad light because in the end, she's pointing her finger at a little girl and calling her stupid. So she's definitely not the winner here. Kelly goes berserk. Kelly might have her moments, but she tends to be a pretty big spaz. So many of us expected her to go berserk after the way Abby treated her daughter Paige. In Season 2, Episode 14, Abby goes wild with fury when Paige's prop isn't properly secured. Instead of talking to Kelly one-on-one, Abby throws Paige's chair across the room and cuts her rehearsal short. Although Kelly was wrong in letting her daughter perform without anti-slip grips on her chair, Abby should never have treated Paige the way she did, so she kind of deserved Kelly's clap back. But after seeing her daughter in tears, Kelly chose to go all the way.
We're done. You're not doing a solo. Neither of my kids are doing a group dance.
That's fine.
Kelly informs Abby that she's pulling her kids out of the studio and canceling their solos. But this doesn't seem to faze Abby in the slightest. So Kelly decides to take things even further.
Well, you were down the road eating. Stop eating. That's why you're fat.
Kelly is obviously overworked, which is probably why she's having a total mommy meltdown. But that doesn't mean that she gets to make fun of Abby's appearance. Because let's face it, once you bring someone's looks into it, you've already lost the battle. Yolanda's claws come out. Are you guys ready for the biggest mommy meltdown of all time? Well, we hope you are, because things are about to get a little physical. Yolanda and her daughter Eliana were invited to join in a mini competition in Season 7 of Dance Moms, and unfortunately things got pretty ugly pretty fast. Apparently, Yolanda was accusing everyone's kids of bullying and excluding her daughter. But when no one would take her seriously, she took it upon herself to approach the children.
They're bullying you? Mom. You know she has feelings.
Funny enough, Eliana confirmed that her mother wasn't telling the truth, and in a way, Yolanda ended up causing more problems for her daughter. But Stacy's daughter Liliana wasn't about to let Yolanda discipline her, so she told a little lie herself.
Yelling in my face saying that I was bullying.
Yolanda?
By now, we all know that Yolanda wasn't actually yelling at Liliana, but Stacy took her kid's words to heart, as any parent would.
I swear I'm gonna kill somebody.
Unfortunately for Stacy, Yolanda just wasn't in the mood for any more conflict, so she tried to settle things the old-fashioned way. Talk about a mommy meltdown, right? Before you go, make sure to tell us which mother-daughter duo is your favorite in the comments below. And that's the end of our video. If you've enjoyed these mommy meltdowns as much as we did, give this video a big thumbs up and make sure to subscribe to The Things for more great content to come your way. Thanks for watching and see you next time.